Mhm. Unmute your speaker.
I'm sending you guys a new document that has the.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Oh man. Who's welcoming?
I really hope.
Ben and Kate, hello.
Ben and Kate.
Ronnie.
See me eating?
Hello.
We can just do.
Hello.
Hey, Ben and Kate. Hello. We should do this like one of those Facebook videos where you say thanks for jumping.
Okay, so we need to be able.
Hey, I want you to send me notes after you take
Okay,
them.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go big right here, and we need to figure out how to do a sound.
I called him right when I pulled up. So you think you can tune me in and listen while you're working? No, people pay attention.
I don't think that it would.
They can't see us because this would be green, but I don't know if they can hear us. Oh yeah, they can.
Maya.
Hello.
You're
Hey.
Maya.
Are we on?
Hello.
Oh, there's free. Are we on here? Do I need to put?
I've never done it. How y'all are trying to stream this?
I have no idea what.
Well, you're go to the meeting. You have
What's wrong?
Can everybody see us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we can't see anybody.
They're not doing their own.
Oh, the other just doing audio?
They opted out of it. Yeah, they said they don't want to show
Here I am. Faces.
Hey, their people.
Let me have fun.
Right, we're doing faces. Okay.
Ben and Kate. Whoever.
Hello.
I'm right here in my paint clothes.
It's Camille. Yeah.
Salam.
So we interviewed a video guy a couple years ago who was from somewhere else, and he had a home office, and he looked really nice. He had a collared shirt on, and somehow, some way through the meeting, when we realized he worked from home every day, we asked him if he was really dressed up, and he stood up, and he had a collared shirt on with like short, like. It was fake.
Matt
Anyways,
used to do that on the
just
news.
not fully dressed. Okay.
Not very often.
I'm Angie Brown. I don't know everybody here. But really quick, if you can, just weigh in. I'd love to know which campuses are on here. And then we'll introduce this team, and we'll try to keep this really brief. We're not going to give you every single thing because it would be overwhelming amounts of information, but we really want to provide the conversation that just really gives everybody an idea of what our teams do, what we can do for you, what we would love for you guys to do, and just make sure that we're sharing resources and collaborating just to be better. So anyways, Angie Brown, let's start with Kate. Since Kate, you're the big one on the screen for us. You have the whole screen.
What a big one.
So I'm here, and Camille's here, and we're with Fun Love.
Is this your house?
Yes.
Isn't it cute?
It's our living
Yes,
house.
I love it. And then who do you want to go next, Emily?
Holden.
Oh, what's up? I am from Greenbrier, so I'm actually at the OBU at NLC side in Conway right now. So,
Yes.
so
Perfect.
Kara.
Hey, I'm Kara, and I'm at the Fayetteville campus.
There you are.
With the Fayetteville campus. We don't have.
You are the favorite. Wherever you are, that is where Fayetteville is.
I'm actually in my room right now. If you guys want to know.
Maya.
I'm Maya from Conway.
Whitney.
Hey, I'm Whitney. This is Amy. We're in Hot Springs.
Woohoo! How's the building looking?
It's coming.
Slowly but surely.
Yes.
We know what
Slowly.
walls are like. They never go smoothly.
No.
All right. Is that everybody? Is there anybody we left out?
Jasmine will be in here in a minute, so she'll be helping.
Perfect. Okay, so Emily is sharing a document with you guys, and it's our creative directory. It's a resource that we've been putting together for a while to give campuses a heads up on training materials, to get them started. And of all the people on today, we have a couple new campuses, and so really we just want to make sure that everybody knows exactly what we do as a team, what we can provide, what we want to provide, things that we're struggling with to get done. And I'll just give you a heads up. Since I've been here, I think we had 3 campuses when I started on staff. It was Conway and Little Rock and Heber. And we have revised our systems every couple of years with the growth of campuses. So our staff, yay, there's Mindy. Hi, Mindy. We're doing the best we can to accommodate growth. This year we've grown by almost 6 campuses. By the end of the year, we will be at 6. And so systems in a lot of places feel strained. And so we're constantly trying to revise those and update those. So if you are working with us on something and there's a strained process or something, we're probably aware of it because we feel it as well. But I just wanted you to know, that is just something that comes from growth. And it's something that we'll always have to revise. And so there's a scripture, Psalm 133, 1, and it says how good and pleasant it is when people live in unity, live together in unity. And so I said this in an all staff a couple of months ago where I just talked about that we are a church that we're suffering from growing pains. And Stella, my little girl, woke up a couple months ago, and she has growing pains right now. So she said, Mom, or actually it was the next morning, I was talking to her about, she had woken up, I'd given her medicine, and I was like, I'm so sorry you had growing pains. And she's like, it's okay. And I said, well, do you need some more medicine? And so I gave her medicine, and so I started praying for her, and I was like, God, please don't let Stella have growing pains tonight. And she paused me and she said, but Mom, if I don't have growing pains, then how am I supposed to grow? And for me, it just hit me thinking, I was like, okay, it's not always a bad thing when there are pains and things are strained. And the result of what we are going through as a church, it's a result of God's goodness in our church. It's a result of Him pouring out favor on us and us being able to reach people. So it is something that I think is so important that when this team across all campuses is trying to figure out how to fix things and technology messes up, obviously we're not always great at it because we're having problems with the video, getting everybody's faces on there. It's always changing. There's always going to be errors. We're always trying to work together to meet every single person's need. And so there will be friction and conflict, and there will be things that that we're trying to navigate through, but to always remember it's a result of a good problem. It's a result of God's goodness in our church. And so with that, I think it's always important to just know that pace and growth and distance are the things that keep us having to push for unity. And so with that, being on the same page and just hearing what's going on with us and us hearing what's going on with you is always a solution. Every time I'm working with a campus or somebody and it's we're texting back and forth, or I know that they have a need, if they're frustrated about something, no matter what, every time there's a phone call, the issue goes away, and it becomes, we're in this together and we're in it for a solution. So I just want you guys to know that this team and the rest of our crew, they're upstairs working on the website, you guys. It is crazy up there. You're either loading pictures or you're prayer walking at this point. So if you guys could pray for us, that'd be great. But we are for everybody, for every single campus, and we spend a lot of time talking about that, how we can support campuses. So anyways, really quick, this is the director's team. Bree only gets one eye, and there he is. Yeah. His wife is running the swivel computer. There she is. So if you ever have a question and don't even know where to start, with creative, who's the best person, you can contact me. or Emily. Emily works as a creative assistant on our team. And then these people cover the major areas of our team. So let's start over here with Becca. And roles always change and evolve. Becca is, you want to give a description of your titles?
Titles.
It's a list. It's a list.
Hi. So I am our creative coordinator, so helping out with like the day-to-day type of stuff with our team. But then I am also help oversee our leadership development, so everything to do with internship and master classes and school of ministry, anything that's raising up people and providing resources for people from creative. And then I'm also helping oversee our social media for the church.
And Jamie?
Hey, I'm Jamie. I help with environments projects.
Yes, she's the environments director. And if you have seen Pam at your campus lately, Pam does environments. We split it into two areas, one in campus development and one in creative. So whatever Pam does to execute at a campus, in children's rooms or furnishing or lighting, and I know Hot Springs is probably familiar with that right now. You've seen Pam a lot. Jamie and Pam work together on the concepts, the designs, the approvals, the direction, and then Pam covers that for new campus launches, and Jamie covers that for all the other environment stuff. So it's an area that we split because of complicated. And then,
Hey, I'm Lydia. I help oversee our design area. Yeah.
All of it.
So all the things that we make, we say that I oversee all the things that we make, and Free oversees how we play them on the weekend
What we do.
or an event. Yeah. So I talk to a lot of campuses and campus pastors, admins on a regular basis. So you probably hear from me quite frequently.
and then Free.
I oversee production, so I just play what Lydia makes.
That's all you're good for.
No,
Play button.
we're trying to really hard right now to build community between a lot of the campuses. I know Drew Roberts, who most of you know, campus dev. That's a huge heart that he has. So we're just trying to figure out how do we communicate regularly with some of the production guys who are mostly volunteers at campuses. So that's primarily what we're working on now. But yeah, I oversee Conway Little Rock production, services, events, all that stuff. So.
And then I oversee our creative team. So this is your director's team, and they oversee different areas of the team. And then Brett Neal, he oversees our video team and all of the videos that we make, and he is out doing some scouting and stuff for a video, so he's not here. We're gonna go through. We sent you a copy of the creative directory. We're gonna hit on a handful of these documents. We're not gonna read everything from beginning to end. But if there is a point that you have a question, we're trying to move fast through this so that we don't keep you guys for very long. But please, I don't know, play some music, raise your hand, scream at us, and we'll stop if you have a question. Or if you walk away and you have more questions. Only that you guys will get is an overview. And then we just ask that as you guys have more people on your team, specific training.
American flag.
The backdrop. Awesome. Okay, so if you guys want to quickly go to that. Everybody have the document that we're in NLC Campus Creative Directory. The very first document in there is called NLC Creative Guide for your campus. If you can open that very quickly, I'm going to move through it really quick. So the first page, it talks about just family and unity and team and some of our leadership expectations. I know we had Creative Vision Night a couple weeks ago, and some campuses had live stream where they really launched their creative community from their campus or from a home. And then we also had the Creative Vision Night. We had 10 campuses represented, and we had 171 people that came, which was fantastic. We're really pushing for community training and and really just unity in campuses. And one of the things with creative community, we've put in our leadership expectations. These are not like leadership expectations of New Life Church that everybody pushes. These are leadership expectations that work for us creatively. It's just something that's worked for our family in like making the best use of our time, moving at such a fast pace that we keep family and unity in front of us. What are our work habits that we have in our office? And a simple one would be like, we literally believe in writing everything down, because the moment you don't write stuff down, the pace that we move, our capacity is, we just don't have it to keep up with. So it's leadership expectations for our team. If those are helpful for you and your teams, and you may think, I am the team right now, so I don't need to have some of those principles, but your goal should be to grow your team. And as you do, if those are helpful to communicate, then you're welcome to use those. There's a link in there. Page 2 talks about building your creative team. This is something we've communicated out to campuses for a while. And I know that years ago, I feel like some campuses would have been under the assumption that we would love to create everything for New Life Church. And it's just not possible. We don't want to create everything for New Life Church. We do want to help supplement, but the vision is bigger than the team that we have and the abilities. And so we want you guys to have a team. So there's a flow chart on there that basically says if you have these positions, like if you look for leaders in these positions, then it will help you to fully develop your team and be able to execute what we do for big events. Not everybody has every position filled in yet, but I know some campuses have begun to fill in who those key point people are. And we met with GLR recently. They're working on building this team, and one of the things we talked with Chris O about, which he's super excited about building a creative community there. It's not saying, hey, the creative people are in Conway, because that's simply not true. And like I said, we're moving at a pace we could never cover all the needs, but it's making a place for people in Little Rock. And the people he's looking for to be on this team are people who believe in people, not people who want to do all of it for themselves, but they're people who believe in people, want to raise up people, want to communicate. Here's the project, here's the Christmas plan, and here's all the details with it, and here's the team, and we want to make it a party. It's someone to lead that area. And the same for production, for communications and capture, for event planning, like having point people so that when we get church-wide plans that you have a team to help with that. And then we don't say this anywhere in here, but I just thought it has come up recently that your team leaders, it will help you if you have people who think generationally, from someone who wants to serve in Kid Life all the way to maybe one of the older ministries in your church. And I say that because we were talking with Chris about options for positions, and you want people who will draw people, who will reach out to people, and who will look to have a generational team, just because it'll help all of the needs across your church. So does anybody have questions about that flow chart that is on there? The next page gives descriptions of each of those and a point person, what the responsibilities include. The point people are the people in this room. So you can take a look at those if you want to understand what each role means. Okay. Lydia, do you want to go through the big event cheat sheet really quick, and the directory and management, those next couple of pages? You can hit on pretty briefly.
Okay. So this next page, after those descriptions about who you should have on your team, this is kind of a guide that our team uses whenever we are going into any big season where we know that could be a conference, or that could be Christmas or Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, those sort of things. We will look at this schedule, and this is kind of the phases that we are looking for and that we start planning. So even starting from 12 to 14 weeks out of the event itself, starting to get a lot of communication going about it. And then also you can look through those phases, and then the directories. I feel like most of you should be pretty aware of our format on directories now. A few years ago, I think we discovered how difficult it was to keep up with documents and how many we had going. So finally, for each event, we just created one place for one-stop shop. You can find out every bit of information that you want. You can be as informed or as uninformed as you would like, your decision. And or just if you ever had a question, you could just go straight there and find out your question probably from that first before you'd even have to ask anyone. So we've got some examples in there, and I feel like most everyone should kind of be aware of what these look like at this point. And if you're not, there are a couple examples you could look at. Your next one that you'll be getting will have to do with tags, and then you will also get a Christmas one in the next few weeks. Weeks for tags. And then the other ways that that's one of the ways that we communicate. We communicate via directories, but these all go out. Every plan with creative, all of our information that we will put out will go through management. I feel like most campuses either have someone who is physically represented there at those meetings. They happen on Tuesdays once a month, and then there's a schedule that gets sent out. Sometimes there is a conference call that happens, but management notes get sent out every week. They've got information, and then the stuff that we put in there, we try to just think through what is going to be the most important thing over the next couple of weeks for a campus to be thinking about. That could be a plan for one of these directories that we have coming up. It could be a service schedule or some changes to a weekend. It could be anything about a new campus launch, or even something like this, like sort of a staff training day. But all of that information gets funneled through management. So kind of the two ways that we try to funnel all of our church-wide communication is going to be through a management plan, and then also through those directories, which sometimes we send out via all staff, but they're always in management as well. Yes, go ahead. Okay, and then we've got in this directory that Angie sent, or Emily sent a little bit earlier, it does have a link to their creative request form. And how Angie was saying earlier, a lot of the things we just move really quickly every day, and that's just church-wide. It's not like we have a thought of just creative is busy. We're aware that every campus is running at full capacity and for all volunteers. And so for us, a lot of our roles change quite frequently. People come into different places. So we have this creative request form that has become our best friend in terms of helping to keep us accountable and keep our system straight on what we are working on. A lot of times we might get a text message or an email requesting something, but chances of that getting missed are pretty high and pretty likely, or we may not get back to it within several days. So that request form, it actually is the easiest way to ask for something, if it's a print piece, if it's a slide, something that you are needing for an event, to request capture something, anything like that, any request form or any creative need that you would have probably can be found on that form. There's even a place for, I don't know what I'm asking for, but here's my request. And that all gets funneled to someone in creative who does project managing for us, and they get it to the right people. They assign a deadline, they make sure that there's a process and a system that goes with it. And really, it's not to make your lives harder, it is to make our lives a little bit more structured in how we receive requests, and then it helps us to actually fulfill them in a pretty timely manner, as opposed to if one person was just to get a text message. So if you get most times if you ask someone in creative, hey, I don't know who does this, can we check on getting this weekend? We will most likely ask you to fill out a form. And I will say with that, probably one of the easiest things, we don't really have a preferred timeline for requests. Honestly, we just look at them case by case on how we can fulfill them in the season that we're in and the things that we can take on. And then the solution, if we are not able to do it, then there's always a solution that we can offer as well. But then you can also look through some of these things that we have listed on here. One of the biggest things is when you fill out a request form, one of the greatest things that you could do is to already have your copy ready, all the content, the specific content that needs to go on whatever piece of material it is, a quantity, a preferred deadline, but one that we might have to talk back and forth on what would work, or and then also any ideas. I think that we talked through some of this at Relate Conference, and I think some people have the opinion of just a creative type in general is that they always have an idea and they always can just come up with something. But one of the best ways that we can help serve you better is to know from the front end what you're kind of expecting. Like if you have a look in mind or something that you would like us to try to accomplish, any of those details can help us get you the product that you're needing that will fit your need and will meet the expectation that you have for it, if that makes sense. So that's a few things about request forms and how we get our communication out.
Okay. Really quickly, we're going to hit on a couple more things in this document, and then we're going to go to the next one. There's a section under it that says supplies. And there's a bunch of different names. It's like chair pins, contact Miss B. Offering containers, contact Miss B. Guest bags, Miss B. And there's just like a whole bunch of items. The supplies area of our church is not set up super great for having a one place location to get all supplies, and it feels a little bit mom and pop. It's been like that for a long time, and so I just wanted you guys to have a heads up. It is something that has been on the radar of us and campus development and Pastor Darren for a while. So I think that it's still very much in the beginning phase, but at some point there will be a supplies area under campus development. And I believe Dean Fagley is going to be heading that up, where things will be more ordered in bulk and you will order them from him versus having to try to remember, like, where do I get that from? Oh, that's a sign holder. It comes from Creative, but oh, I contact this person for t-shirts and I contact this person for communion. So it feels very random right now. So just know that solutions for that are coming, but there is a list of point people that you can get stuff from in this document. So, and then there's a list at the bottom that says who to call if you run into a problem. I think it's got almost everybody. Okay. Let's go to the next document really quick. I'm going to hit on branding and t-shirts for just a second, because this is something that this is a big topic for a lot of campuses right now, because our church is growing really fast and our brands are growing fast. If you want to open the document called Brand Assets and just take a scroll for a second, you can see what it probably goes in order, I think, of really our main brands down to sub-brands. And it shows different orientations that we have. Our New Life logo is got the Arkansas, but it also has a second version for Palm Beach because they didn't want to use the Arkansas shades, which I get it. It makes sense. Then we have, you can see some of the variations of the Arkansas God Sees. It shows our Kid Life and Little Life branding. Below that is 412. 412 is doing a rebrand rollout right now. And something you will see with a lot of the rebrands that are coming out right now is they have a subtitle under them. So if they are an actual name that doesn't mean anything, that the logo itself includes a subtitle. Because I think sometimes internally we think everyone knows what it is, and you flash 412 up on the screen, and people who are guests in your church, they have no idea what that means. So you can see a little bit of the rebrand of 412 as well as Real Life in here. And Real Life is also a brand that is rolling out currently. So
Lightning strike. It's fine.
was it the fire?
Everybody's fine. We're alive still.
Okay, good. We're down here in the bunker.
Hello,
So-
Cody Bennett. Hello, Cabot.
Hi.
And Kendra.
And
Hi,
Kendra.
Okay, then there is a NLC College logo in this document. It is a temporary logo. I believe it's a logo that Fayetteville started for their college ministry as a temporary logo, and we are using it. I think we've made a couple changes on it to give it some versions that have the words larger, especially for social media. But it is a temporary logo, and Pastor Rick and Darren and Garrett and Jason and Tyler Tarver and all of the YA and college pastors have been talking about how we facilitate college where it's not confusing. There's a huge conversation about it right now. But so for temporary uses, people are using NLC College, and in their like social media tagline, it says like NLC College Age Ministry or College Age, so that people don't confuse it and think, is that a college at New Life Church like OBU or School of Ministry? But it's a temporary thing, but that is in a really giant process right now of rebrand that won't be rolling out for months. But if anyone has ideas on that, you can shoot them to me, because we are in the brainstorm phase of that across many campuses, many ministries, on what the best decision is on that. Then if you go below, Elevation is kind of retired as a main brand, but it's a college life group at this point, YA, and then it goes on and on. You can kind of scroll through and see some of our other logos. So there is a list that we have in Creative of here's the logos that are in good shape. Here are the logos that are really in need of a rebrand. Here are logos and ministries that are retired, that aren't being used anymore. Here are upcoming things that we can see a logo or a brand being needed. So there's those conversations all the time. This is only a fraction of our brands, but these are our main brands in this document. There is always the question on how to brand something, like when they can get a new brand, and we get a lot of that. And so I really want to quickly hit on that. Well, first let me say this. With our main brands, something we have run into is that I feel like there's a flash of light.
Free's just taking pictures.
I feel like with the main brands, what a lot of campuses are running into is like, here's my brand. It might be the word Kid Life. I'll use the example of what GLR is going through right now. So they have Kid Life. It's a very main ministry for us, and it did cover kindergarten, I think, through 5th grade there, or maybe 1st through 5th. And then they have too many kids, so they've split into 2 rooms. So they have Kid Life 1 and Kid Life 2, for lack of a better name right now. And so then they're like, well, do we call one Kid Life Next? What does that look like? And so we've been talking with Kevin Little for a while about like, how do we not have our solution be to change the brand? So one of the solutions that a lot of people come up with is, what if I could just change the brand name? What if I could modify it to be the solution? And with our main brands, we don't want to break up that brand. We don't want to add to that brand. Another example of it, we got a t-shirt request for one of our hospitality teams wanting to do a t-shirt. And they really wanted to have New Life Church, and they really wanted to have hospitality. So their idea was, how do you have New Life Church hospitality? And they were marrying the word within the brand. We talked with finance and HR about this, and they wanted to do a shirt that had New Life Church Finance. I think it was the Arkansas logo with finance by it, replacing the New Life Church words. And so with brands, we have brand training. We can train people who are using logos on your behalf. But if you have people using logos, we would love to be able to talk with them about use of them. We would love to not break up or modify outside of the logo. And if you have a ministry need, that is your first thought, is we've got to do something to the logo. It's not working. Can we have a conversation about it? Because it's not that I think it is like ever, it could be a solution, but it's not always the solution. And so with that, we just want to protect our brands. Brands are super important. They give you credibility. I was even thinking about lately, I've noticed a couple of our campus pastors who have dealt with people who are trying to pretend they represent New Life Church on a street, taking up money. And it was like, and it had New Life Church written out. And we want to make sure that every time you see our logo, that it looks trustworthy and reliable and consistent. And there are people who've created for us. They make something that looks nothing like what we do. And I've even seen it and thought, is that New Life Church? And I would have never known it was. And so it is not something that we're saying the way we design something is absolutely better than everybody else's. It's not that at all, because there's times we see stuff at other campuses and I'm like, that's fantastic. But with brands, it's about it being trustworthy and consistent, and that we don't dilute our brands by sub-branding everything or breaking it up. So another one we've had with a couple campuses is putting the campus name within the logo. So if you're doing a graphic and you really want the campus name, it's not that it can't be on the design. We think that that is super beneficial, especially with like our rave cards. We've really been trying to get campus names on them because we have people who attend multiples now, and you got to know what service times you're looking at. But within the logo, we do not really want New Life Church with New Life Church Conway or New Life Church Greater Little Rock. We just don't want to break it up, or we don't want to combine them and put them in the same logo. And so if you have a question about that, we can give solutions on that as well.
With that brand asset document, if you are needing a logo, please do not copy and paste the ones that are in here, because we can just give you one that will actually suit the need that you have. Mm-hmm. But I would highly, highly suggest, please do not copy and paste out of this document. It will probably not turn out the way that you would wanted it to.
And really, if you have someone making graphics regularly for you, or who've touched multiple logos, the best thing for you to do is get them in touch with us so that they can get access to everything that they need. Otherwise, you can email us and say, hey, I need this logo, or send in a request, hey, I need this logo, and we can send you the files. But this was just a view. We wanted to see all of our church branding together. So if you need a new brand, and I say that because it comes up a lot, we don't do a lot of new brands, but they do come about. A good example would be School of Ministry. We started that, so Pastor Darren asked for a new brand for that. We have a few on our radar right now that we're like, we know this ministry is starting. But the major rule of thumb is not that creative decides the brands. It's that lead exec decides the brands, and it's church-wide brands.
Yeah.
If you want like something made, a good example would be like if GLR said, hey, we're doing this event and we want to do this Serve Saturday thing, and we want to do it multiple times this semester, and we want a brand. Well, that's not a brand. It's like artwork that goes for that. It's really a campaign of here's this look and feel and graphics, kind of like a series graphic. It's not a brand, it's a series. And so just keep in mind, if you're wanting a new brand, that you need to think, is this a church-wide brand that the church would want to take on? And if you want something that's just used for a ministry, that's a ministry request, we can do that, but it will not be an official brand of New Life Church unless it's a church-wide thing. And my biggest suggestion is just go to someone on lead exec first, run it through them. If you emailed them and said, hey, we really want to start this ministry, it is for this, and which there's been conversations about a few new ministries that have already come about, and the best thing for them to do is just show us, hey, Pastor Rick and Darren talked with me about this. Here's an email from them saying, let's move forward and brand this. We have no problem doing it. But sometimes it's confusing because if we branded every request that came in, you would have 50 more brands on that list. It comes about all the time. So anyways, that's something to think on brands. And by the way, we also have times that we break brand rules. It is something that I have to think really hard about because I understand why people do it. And so there's even things we look at and I'm like, doesn't that break the rule? And then I have to go back and look and see what the logo, like the style guide is that goes with it. So I just wanted you guys to know we're not snobs on it and think we know everything. It's a lot of brands to manage the consistency that goes with them. So really quick, let's go through the next document, the front of house shirt guide. And I'm just going to hit on this really quick. There's a document, if you open it, it says Be Our Guest, and it's a front of house shirt standard guide. And the purpose of it is that several months ago, maybe 6 months ago, church-wide, we rolled out some new Serve shirts that our lead team wanted to roll out. They wanted to get something a little bit more polished. The black and white feel has been a big win. There's a collared shirt in there. So this is something that we rolled out, like I said, earlier in the year. And this document, though, has become something that it's hurt us to not have this. So we created this recently because we have a ton of shirts being created right now. With a lot of people order from Angela Conrad, and they are phenomenal. They're lay pastors of our church. They give a lot to our church, both in their time and their money and their energy and from their business. And they do a lot of what I consider just administrative work for us. Like, there are so many of the campuses who reach out and say, hey, I want this. And it's something that they know has to go through several conversations before it's really something they should print. And so they are so awesome to do that for us. But what we did want to say is, if you have a question about something that, can I make this? Should I make this? We're not controlling everything, but we do want to give consistency in the shirts that we have front of house. And that's not necessarily from me, that's from Pastor Rick, and that's from Darren. We want to have the same look on all of our social media of all of our front of house teams. And so we've tried to make sure that you have options for most of the areas. So I'll quickly go through those. There's the main serve shirts. There's the links on there. The parking shirt. We put in here a section for usher attire. Pastor Rick prefers our ushers to be able to dress like businessmen. So I think for Conway, they're not wearing usher shirts at all. They're just wearing a lanyard. And I think we put that in here. But then I think GLR is working towards actually having a unified shirt, but they're going to use the black shirt that is in here with Arkansas logo. And then Cabot, hey Cabot, is wanting to do a color shirt for their ushers, because the system that they use to process new guests through and to be able to identify people across the room and get them exactly where they need to go, they need a color to be able to quickly pass people off with the crowd. So that gives a couple different variations with that in here. I've Decided is next. These are the current shirts we have for I've Decided. We have talked about a rebrand of this shirt next April for the I've Decided weekend. Something that would feel similar enough, just refresh it a little bit, that if you still had some of the old shirts, it'd be fine. But those are in here. The Kid Life shirts are in here. There are all of the shirts that are in here. There's 4 shirts, but there are lots of other Kid Life shirts that are out there. And so we have a lot of shirts that are different than these that have been made that are out there. And we just ask that when you guys are doing reordering, that you choose shirts that are in this guide. It's the ones that Angela, she has this guide, so they're going to easily be able to order these for you. Just because there have been a few shirts that don't necessarily line up with our front of house guide. And so some campuses have different shirts, and we're just trying to let people wear them. And then when they need a new shirt, go to this shirt. And then you have a shirt below that says New Families Team. And that is a shirt that basically is the welcome shirt, so that it looks just like the greeters at the front door, but it is a color so that you have greeters that have a bolder color for your Kid Life hallway if you want it, but it's not mandatory that they wear that. Some campuses are using that. So, and then we have below Outreach and Serve. So there's one that has Dream Center on it, and there's one that just has New Life Church. We put some of these details in the bottom, but we're trying to church-wide reserve the color red for our outreach, because I'm sure you guys have heard it, the people who wear the red shirts. Anytime there's like a major relief or need that we send people out, or we're serving in our communities, you see it on social media, you've seen it on the news, it's the people with the red shirts that come in. And so there is a recognition of when the church serves the community and when we get behind the community. So with that, if we pick red for our Serve shirts, and I say it because there's a bunch of them out there, and it's lack of people knowing, and it's lack of us deciding that really needs to be a rule. But red has become a color that people are starting to pick for their Serve shirts, pick for event shirts. And I know the I've Decided is a little bit red, it's a different shade of red, but we're just asking that you reserve red for outreach, so that we don't dilute our social medias with all red shirts, and then it's also the same color when we go serve the community. It's a different thing. What we do for parking is not the same as when we're cleaning up after a tornado. So, and then lanyards, it's got the lanyard link below that shows you the templates that we have that you can make your own, or we can make them for you. But a lot of people need like a couple new lanyards a week, so we suggest you just make those so you don't have to wait to get them from across the state. And the details about how to do shirts if you're designing something, and then a few favorite brands and colors below. So this is the guy that if you were to call Angela and ask her for shirts, that she would probably refer you to. And then if you need it from us, it's right here, so you can pass that around to your teams for sure. I just have one question with Angela, or one thought with Angela Conrad. If you guys have worked with her and Bobby are fantastic, and Cassandra works with them as well. If you guys can remember, they are a part of our church, they're a part of our lay staff, but at the same time, they are a business. So if you need a logo, do not ask them for a logo to go make something somewhere else. That would be us. We just prefer if you need something outside of, hey, Angela, here's this serve shirt that we need to order extras, or we need to order extra of this and we get it from her. If it's like any other question, like, hey, we saw that shirt that you made, can we have the logo so that we can go print it somewhere else? Please don't do that, because a majority of our orders as a church go through her. They are super flexible. They research other brands. When we need something that we're not sure if they have, they do the extra legwork to do that. And so they're just a huge vendor for us. I understand that not everybody, it might not fit every single scenario to use them. But I'm just telling you, if we can be respectful of the fact that they are a business, it would be like me going to one restaurant or to Starbucks and saying, can you give me Zateo coffee? Like, it's just, you just want to be careful not to ask them for something that really doesn't honor their business. So, okay. Did I miss anything on that? That's a lot of information.
Thank you.
Questions on it? Awesome. Okay. Justin Free has got a much more entertaining segment than I did.
All right, yeah, we're going to talk about the top 5 cartoons of 2000.
2000.
I don't know any from 2000. I'm going to go, I just want you guys to know, I talked to some of you. I've talked to Garrett and Bo in Fayetteville. I don't know if I've talked to many of you, but with production, I just want you guys to know that we're here to assist your campus. So in this document, towards the bottom, I put my contact information, email, phone number, basically anything you guys need help with, need help processing through, any event, Christmas, Easter, even woman promo video. Like this weekend, we talked to Bo in Fayetteville, helped to get them set up. Basically anything that your volunteers or your production leaders need, we're here to help. But there may be some campuses who I know in Hot Springs recently, Tad Hill is no longer there. So when there is a shift in who's helping oversee and lead the team, it would be beneficial for us to know when something like that happens, because we do try to be a little bit proactive in the communication to your campuses. So I just put down here in the document, we try to commute on a daily, not a daily basis, but on a weekly basis. We have an application called Slack, and that's where we put. We'll interact with the team. Campus development's active in there. Updates from campuses that they're building. So there's a lot of daily updates, that just kind of some community that we try to build there, just talking with people. And then weekly, Dropbox and email are the main forms of communication that we use to put content out there for you guys to either download or access for whatever you guys need. So Allie Brasco is normally the one that will email out all of the content for services. So I guess the main thing that I would want you guys to know is I would love to get connected with your production person. Even if you think we're already connected, make sure that they know me. And even if you want to send me their contact, I would love to reach out to them, because I don't know that I have all the contacts for the production people across the state. So, and then last but not least, we just started training. We're revamping a lot, like we're going through documentation and how are we not only assisting campuses, but how are we training the volunteers we have now. We gave you all of our production training documents in that link there under training opportunities. We're training every single position, and we created documents for basically if we have someone new coming in, what do we want them to know if they were going to be an experienced volunteer, but also somebody that we could really trust to make edits in some of these areas. So anything from learning how to operate it to being somebody that we can heavily count on to help run a service and make adjustments during service. All of that information and how we train people are in those training document. The link is there for there. And then Josh and some of the audio guys are actually some of you guys, I know Garrett and some of you guys that deal more directly with services. We're about to put out a lot of trainings for the audio engineers. So mic placements, how to EQ vocals, all that type of stuff. There will be short 1 to 2 minute tutorials on how do we go ahead and do that practically. Maybe Sunday morning you need some tips. They can have that document open and there will be a link with all the videos there so they can look at it. So we're trying to do everything we can, not only to train our guys, but we know that it's going to be really helpful for some of your guys that just do this on the weekend, or maybe they come in on Sunday or Saturday to help for services. So all that to say, connect them with me if you guys have any questions, or Kendall. I know a lot of you guys talk to Kendall too. Anybody on our team is more than willing to help. So we're here for you. Welcome home.
Okay, Jamie's gonna hit on environments really quick, and then have a couple random things to go back and hit.
So with environments, we really kind of have two major areas: events and campaigns, and then building projects. And our team, again, just like everybody said, we're here to support all the campuses. You know, over the past several years, because we're located here in Conway and we're close to Little Rock and there's such big buildings, big stages, our team has been very hands-on in the past as far as like actually executing installs, but we're getting to the point now with so many of us that it's not actually as possible for us to go be at a stage set, you know, all week long. As you guys know, it's a big project to take on. So the biggest thing for us, again, is just about building teams, building people at your campus. As far as like my immediate team that I have right now, Avery Rodriguez and Jania Massey, some of the time Jania is helping with environments. And so sometimes you might get communication from one of them. And if so, it's because I've said, hey, can you contact so-and-so for me? So if you hear from one of them, just know that they're part of our staff creative team for environments. They're helping me a ton right now. So under events and campaigns, please know that our role again is to gather and to help organize. So for us, we are absolutely going to get vision for any big event like Christmas, Women Conference, even something like Big Screen or Tags. We're going to get the vision from our lead team. And then we want everybody to be involved from there on out. So compiling ideas from all the campuses, we want to hear from you guys on this. So if you have an idea for something, please always send them to me. We actually do try to keep track of every idea that's submitted. We try to go through them. So if you've ever seen when we start editing for stage set and we print off hundreds of Pinterest photos, things that people have emailed us, we lay them out on the table and we take a look at them. So we want to hear from you. We want your campus to be involved, because ultimately we get way better products when we're designing together than just me designing something. I'm absolutely not the best, but I will organize all the information and communicate it. Not a problem. We will help with editing and researching feasibility. Our goal is never to present a project that's not actually doable. We've done some research on the front end. We may not have all the answers until we kind of dig into an install, but we really try to get a plan together and figure out how you can actually do it at your campus and what it would cost. A lot of that back end work for a project, that is absolutely something our team will cover. And just organization, we are in those directories. The environments plan is always in there. So when it comes to Christmas time, if you need to know what the plan is, you can always go to the directory and find environments. Communication and support. If you ever need anything on a project, please call me. And I will help as best I can in a way that helps you. And we also want to build community too. I don't ever want it to feel like we're just creating all this work and all these projects and just like handing it off and there's no conversation about it, or community. I want to be connected to anybody who's helping with environments at your campus. We also have a Slack account as well. And that really is truly just because we want to be able to see, like, how are you guys doing? Like, send us photos. We want to celebrate you. We want to help you troubleshoot. We want to have conversations. If there is a cool story from an install of something that happened with a volunteer, we want to know about it. So Slack is a way that we want to be able to have a group conversation about it, maybe without one more group text going on. But I mean, if that's easier, we can do that too. Other things on communication, obviously Google Drive folders are very important for us. And then we also have really been trying to provide videos for different aspects. Some of you have seen them for Set Change. We try to do like tutorials on this is how we actually built this. This is what worked for us, or this is what did not work for us. I should probably do like a fail video for y'all at some point, just so you know that we really go through the process on everything. And then we also can provide drawings and models of our projects when possible. We used to do to scale models of Set Change for every campus. I think the most I did before I realized this is not possible to sustain was 9. We did 9 to scale models of, I think, the truss stage set. That was the last time we really did that. We started doing a lot more digital modeling, which helps us a lot. It's still time consuming, but not so much hot glue. But we are at the point where I can't necessarily design this as Russellville stage set specific to it, but I can do one and group it because I know like Russellville and Heber are very similar, and now Searcy and Cabot are really similar in their setup. So I think I can do maybe like a couple of versions of a drawing and be able to send it out. But that's where we need your help on a lot of this as well. So we want you guys to build a volunteer team. These projects are not necessarily just for us to have creative time, although I love it. And I love when I actually get to be really hands-on and install something, but these are ministry opportunities for our church. I cannot tell you how many stories of people who attended our church who were either in construction or an electrician or somebody like, you know, somebody who's like, I just love to craft, I just really love glitter. They have come to a project and they have felt valued and they have felt important to our church. So it's really important that when you get something like a Christmas plan, please don't try to take that all on yourself and try to do all the work. We want this to be an opportunity that you create for people in your church to come, get their hands dirty and be part of the house. Just like for me and my family, the day after Thanksgiving is when we decorate for Christmas, and it's a family event and we do it together and we play music and it's a fun environment. That's exactly what we want for any environments project, for you to have volunteers involved. And this is for them, not necessarily for us to create and get our fix or to just take it all on ourselves. This also allows other people to use their gifts. You can identify new people within your church who are incredibly talented artists or are incredibly talented craftsmen. That's an opportunity for them to come plug in, and you now know what gifts they have and you're able to give them a place at the table to be able to use their gifts. Building relationships with local vendors. This is a big deal for us right now. You know, for example, we have Dawn and Christine Riley, who are incredible. They not only serve on our production team and are a huge asset to Justin, but they're a huge asset to us because they're the best ever if you ever need a slat wall design, or if you have a crazy idea for like a 12-foot by 8-foot foldable wall backdrop. They can figure out how to make it because they're geniuses. But currently, I think they're maybe in Fort Smith doing some things, or we're in Fort Smith. They're getting ready to be in Bryant. So they're getting spread pretty thin. But they are never opposed to training somebody to do what they do. And we can't tap out 1 or 2 vendors for 17 campuses or however many we're going to be at by the end of the year. So this is an opportunity for you guys to make relationships with people who are local to your city. Maybe even get them involved in church when maybe they haven't been before. And then some of them may even help you out cost-wise even better than we could, because they're in your city and you're bringing business to them. We're all about local business. So the other thing we need from you guys too is just know your campus. You know that building inside and out. You're in it all the time. I'm pretty photographic. I can remember a lot of things, but I don't know the exact measurements on your drum cage. I can't know that for every campus anymore as we keep growing. So if you guys are really well versed in your stage, your building, what works really well, what doesn't work very well, and you're able to help us translate things for your campus, that's super helpful, and it makes for really successful projects when we're working together on the main design, but then the details that are really specific to your campus. Building projects, I personally, I love remodels. I love any kind of project that makes our campus work better, look better, flow better. I'm all about it. I feel like environments team and creative, we've been entrusted with this area in our church because there have been many years of us having conversations with our lead team, especially Pastor Rick and Michelle. To us, the look and feel of our buildings is just as important as branding. And they are assets to our buildings as well. And it's just really important to us that no matter where you go, it feels like New Life Church. It feels quality, just like our brand. You can trust it. So that's really important to us, not necessarily the control aspect, but the consistency aspect. So when it comes to our buildings, anything that's within it, it's not what I personally like all the time. It's what our church wants to communicate and what it needs to feel like. And that's really important to us. So I just want to make sure that whenever any of our lead team goes to another campus, they walk in and it feels like home to them. And they don't walk in and go, what the heck is that? And maybe send me a message about like, what's going on here? Can you check on that? So just know that it's just because that's a trust relationship and we want to continue that and we want to teach everybody. With that said, like Angie said, Pam Gregg, she is, I mean, like my goal in life because she does everything. She can twirl fire and she can also install vinyl walls. And I just want to be, I just say all the time, Pam, I'm just trying to be you when I grow up. But she is basically like my other half in campus development. And right now their load is very heavy on new buildings and new construction projects. So we work together to try to make sure those are covered really well. There are other needs that come up. For instance, like Heber Springs is wanting to, revamp a room in their building. It's been several years. So like that's something that I may take on because Pam's just so swamped. So there's a little bit of a gray area as far as like what Pam or I can cover. But if you ever have a question, just contact me and we'll figure out the way to take care of you guys the best. But once you have approval from a campus pastor on a building project and you have a budget, please contact us. We can help you with sourcing. We can help you figure out estimates. We can help with the design side of it. And I'll let you know at what capacity and the timeline that we can get that back to you. And then from there, once we can provide some type of design for you guys, it'll go back to you. Like, can you help recruit any volunteers to help make it happen? Do you have a database of individuals or subcontractors that we can contact to get quotes on these things? And then really, really important on any type of building project, you would be surprised at how long just shipping for furniture can take. It can take anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks, maybe even longer sometimes to get the right things in. So the earlier advance notice we have on furniture or building needs, the better. I say 8 to 12 weeks at minimum. So if you know you're wanting to do a major project to your building, we need plenty of time, not just for shipping and getting things in, but for the design phase, approval. We want to make sure things work really well. I definitely believe good design solves problems, and our buildings have to do so much ministry all the time. We want to make sure they're set up most efficiently to serve the most amount of people. So if you give us plenty of time, we're able to help a lot. So that's what I have for environments.
Okay, just a couple more topics and we're done. In the top of the document where we had this section of the creative guide for your campus, the creative request form, and there's one more line that says, who is the campus creative team? Add, please. That's something we've sent out to your campuses for maybe a couple months now to say, who are these point people that you have? And then give you some goals to start looking for those. I know Conway is looking for people who could be those team leaders. And I want to hyper focus on one team really quick because we haven't talked much about it. There's a communications team leader, and under that it's someone who will raise up making sure you have some graphic artists on your team, whether they're volunteer or whether they're a contractor, someone really quick you can say, hey, we need this slide made. Someone who handles your social media, And so there's a few positions that are there's someone who captures your service, like video or photography for special moments, or who gets us just regular content. I just really want to stress those are some major needs at every campus. And they can be something that are out of sight a lot, but if we don't have good photos of your campus, then it doesn't reflect on the website. And we also, we just did a VBS recap video that you guys played in your services maybe 2 weeks ago. We captured 8 campuses for VBS. So we're at a place now where the systems are all broken. We cannot get to 15 campuses to get capture. And then on top of that, to do the 8 campuses, there were some that we really, really wanted to see if we could get there and get as many as possible. And we didn't get all of them, but even the 8 was really hard. And you have to look at the end result of here's this video that it does show unity across all of our campuses. But did we really want to spend 80 or 100 hours on a video like that, or do we want to figure out new methods? So I understand the need of, you've got to figure out volunteers that can do it, the equipment, do they have the training? You've got to find photographers who are good. We get it, because we're in the same boat with Conway and Little Rock. It's not like we just do this stuff here and the need is always covered. So I just can't stress how important it is. We can always give training. The same way with social media, we do a lot of master classes and training on that. And with that, we'll talk about master classes. We have a little survey for you guys to do, but do you have anything on social media that you would want them to know? We have a pretty good social media team. We have a point person for every campus.
Yeah, I mean, all of the social media managers that we deal with for the most part have been doing an amazing job of asking questions, getting stuff out when we need them to. And so the main thing is just making sure that that person at your campus does have Slack and that they are checking it, because that is where we're sending everything. But for the most part, yeah, everybody's doing a great job of getting everything out.
It's a great system. But we can always train if someone's like, hey, we really need help with this. Like, we're always available for that. So
yeah.
And with your capture, because a lot of times we might get something that we want to include as many campuses as possible, whether that's showing a recap on the weekend, or it could just be a slide of photos going through. When you do have capture at your campus, we would love to have those photos. We keep an archive of all the photos, of just our church as a whole. And so if we don't have photos from your campus, we cannot represent your campus, and we can't represent them well. So if you do have, Rachel Spinks right now is kind of our admin point person to gather all of those. But you could contact me, you could ask Rachel, but we would just love to get those photos. It could be after a life group launch. If there was a video taken, if there was capture of photography or video, we would love to have it. Because sometimes we even look at social media and we're like, that's so amazing. I wish that we could have that so that we could brag on that, or we could show what the Lord is doing across the state. And but sometimes we don't have access to some of those files. So if you could, we would love to be in communication with you on that and to have your photos. You will also notice when our website launches the importance of beautiful photos at this point. And hopefully you love the ones on your campus, but if you don't, then that's okay, because you can change them.
Yes. And with that, I would just recommend everyone go to the people who are taking photos, or whoever's that capture point person, and just asking, have you passed all the photos on to Creative? Because we've dealt with it here where we have all these people lined up to take photos, and then it's like, if you don't think through the process of after the event's over and they're still sitting there on the camera, on the card, and there's not a process for dumping mass amounts of photos and naming things, they may be sitting somewhere unnamed and no one knows they're there. So if you can just confirm with your teams that that's happening. Okay, so last thing in the document, at the very bottom, it says, we would love your feedback. There is a link in there to a survey, and we're not going to wait and everyone fill it out now. Some of you may have already started it though, but it's only a 1-page survey, so it's not super long. It's got questions on how your team is doing, but it also has a question that says, does your creative team need any sort of training or resources from us? And it gives you boxes that you can check. Would you prefer a regional training? where it was near your campus, where we bring a couple campuses together? Would you prefer to send people to our creative office where they can get a behind the scenes look and then further training into what we do here? Would you prefer video meetings like this? Would you prefer, we would love to know if you and your teams are interested in our fall retreat for creative. We will do a retreat. There will be a section of it on a one-day time because we know people are traveling. If people across the state want to come and be a part of that. But we just want to know if that's something you're interested in, or if there is another way that you want training, you can put that in there. And then it's got another question that I think is really important to think about. And do you see ways your team could contribute to the church-wide resources for creative? Or from creative. And an example would be sharing some of the things that you make where other people can use it. We have fantastic designers in a lot of cities that don't work for New Life Creative in Conway. Brandon Cotton is a fantastic designer. Craig Woodson is a fantastic designer. There are people, one of our best photographers in the entire church is at Kappa Campus. His name's TK. He's probably not on here, but someone texted him and said we bragged on him. He's amazing. And so, I mean, I think I maybe have posted a couple photos on my account, so everybody thinks I'm a good photographer. Anyways, we have fantastic people, but a lot of times people use what they make for their campus, and it could be a design that is like easy to translate to something else, whether it's like just a generic design that's not themed that someone could make for their vision night here, and then they could duplicate for a marriage retreat. Like, there are things that could be reused, and if you want your team to contribute, we just need to know, and we can figure out a place to put all that stuff to say, here is stuff that's being made across the state. I think Fayetteville did an idea at Father's Day, and they were like, here's something we're going to give away, and we're like, well, we should just do something with that phrase. What was it, Udaman? Okay, so way to go, Fayetteville. But it's like that. It's like we do take everybody's ideas, and we really do go and comb through them for events. But also, if you have stuff you're using locally that you're like, hey, you guys should consider this, we would love for you to send it. So, and then any other questions on here? Oh, it says, does your creative team have any ideas for a creative masterclass? And do you have anyone that you would want to teach a masterclass? I mentioned TK. He just taught our last photography masterclass for us. So, and then it has a few other questions in there, but we would just love to hear from you guys. We are really trying to provide resources and training and over communicate this semester. And with the teams getting bigger, we will want you guys to also communicate for us. So if you need anything from us, or if we can come to your campus or do regional training and it's helpful for you guys, we just need to hear from you. So anything else?
I have one last thing. If I know several campuses are now starting to kind of like outsource things to different graphic designers. If you get into a place, I've had this discussion with one campus where they let a volunteer design something, but then they were like, it was not what we were looking for, and we don't know how to communicate that with them. We would love, I know that our team has, like, we will outsource things to volunteers. We'll give them a go at a slide or something. Provide those kind of smaller opportunities. If you're needing some feedback, or you would like to kind of discuss, hey, what would you say in this situation, or how could I help them learn how to improve on this? Our graphic designers are really great at training, and they have a really great heart for it as well, and also as like building that community with design. So we would love to be in that conversation with your teams as well. If you run into that issue, please just give us a call, email, text, whatever.
Is everybody still awake?
Are you
What are you thinking, Maya? What are you thinking? I can't hear you. Does anybody have questions?
This is really helpful.
Whoa. Okay, we didn't hear anything you said. It was like dead silent. So does anybody have questions or thoughts?
We can hear you now. Try again.
Us?
Yes.
Anybody?
We don't have any questions, but this is really helpful for now. Like, just,
I know Conway we've kind of been scrapping a little bit for some areas have been left undone, but this kind of helps us just give a guideline for the right kind of people, and then also like how to go about it and how to encourage them in what they do, because I don't know how to tell someone to do these things that are in this like document of this is your role.
Yeah.
You know, so now I can just not give them a paper, but
if you will look for people, and we can always help with that. We've been, like I said, processing with Chris O on like who is the right person for these positions. In a conversation, we are not looking for every pastor to have to guide every single thing that gets made at your campus. That's why we are available for the training. And honestly, there are a couple campuses that they have a person, and if you have someone that is trained, not on that we know what we're doing or like perfectly, but if they're trained on how we do things in our house, it will help your campus. If they can start to make smaller decisions on your behalf on some of the are so trained, then it's going to help the campus pastor. It's going to help the city vision. We have one person at GLR. Her name is Kaylin Hill, and she is a volunteer who is functioning as our environments point person for GLR now. It's the first person that we've had in place for Conway and Little Rock that it's like, here's this team leader, and they're knocking it out of the park more than we ever have at GLR. And then to a point that she is functioning as lay staff for the central creative team where she can train on our behalf. Your goal is to pick people who can function on your behalf for your campus, but I'm just telling you, like, we're looking that every team is self-sufficient, but we're also looking across the state to say, who is somebody that should be lay staff to our central teams that they want to be a part of going to other campuses and helping guide them and buddying up with some campuses beside you, because it's the only way. It's across all areas of New York, the buddy system of like resourcing each other and walking each other along through things that one campus may have already done. So
Kaylin's a perfect example for this too. Like she's saying with the whole buddy system, as we're getting ready to launch the county campus, we have a lady that we're looking at helping lead environments team for Saline County, and she and Kaylin have actually buddied up, and because Saline County isn't launched yet, she brought people from their campus to help with Mother's Day install at GLR. And then the way that Kaylin was able to recruit volunteers at the Little Rock campus, she was able to bring in people that I don't have relationship or access to bring in. And she brought an entire life group of people, like 15 people for Easter install, was able to carry that whole project out to completion. And they had a blast doing it because they had that relationship. And so that's why it's just been such a huge win, and it will continue to be a win when you have people at your campus that are able to lead and reach out to other people, but then also build relationships with each other across campuses.
Anybody else have anything? Okay. Anyways, thank you for joining us. If you guys have somebody you're like, man, I sat through this, some of this didn't apply to me, but I wish so-and-so was here, it would help. We're going to continue more of these trainings, or you can pass the documents to them.
I'm going to send it to you.
Oh, Emily has a recording of this, so she's going to send this out to you. And really from there, all talk about many different areas. So you just need to know who your point people are. And if you want further training in each area, there is very hands-on specific training. So please fill out that survey. We would love to hear from you guys on the talk about it. Cool. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys. You have an awesome day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.